All right, let's get it. You're watching the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. Chase Sr. here with you. Hope all of your weeks are off to a great start. So much to get to on today's show about Jimmy Garoppolo as well as Trey Lance, and it's all presented to you by Manscaped. If you want the best men's grooming products, you can do so with Manscaped by using that link at the bottom of your screen, and in the process, you get 20% off and free shipping by going to manscaped.com/49ers. We'll tell you more about them coming up here in just a few moments. We start off with this. Jimmy Garoppolo trade rumors are hot once again, with training camp really in the horizon, approaching very quickly. According to Jeremy Fowler, the Seattle Seahawks eyeing Jimmy G, and they have had internal talks about him potentially taking over as their starting quarterback. Now, there's a lot to really talk about and discuss on this front, so let's really first summarize what Jeremy Fowler had to say on ESPN. He did report that Garoppolo's recovery from that shoulder surgery is on schedule. He does need to pass a physical, though, so really no trade can happen until he passes that physical with San Francisco. Then Fowler really got into the juicy aspect of this, saying the Seahawks kept an eye on Baker Mayfield. He, of course, traded to the Carolina Panthers, in case you missed it last week, and they have had talks about Garoppolo. Now, San Francisco wants to re-sign Deebo Samuel, as well as Nick Bosa, but they need more money to do so this year, and Garoppolo's base salary, $24 million, his cap hit, $26.9. As for what Fowler had to say specifically about Garoppolo, I'm told that internally, the Seahawks have discussed the possibility of Garoppolo playing for them. They've done their film work to see how he would fit. Certainly tricky to do a trade inside the NFC West, but the 49ers and Seattle know that they can kind of sort of wait this out. The 49ers have limited cap space right now, I think around $5 million. They want to re-sign Nick Bosa and Deebo Samuel, but to do that, they need some of Garoppolo's base salary, and Seattle probably knows that, and maybe they wouldn't make a trade, and they would instead wait for the 49ers to release him. And oftentimes when it comes down to these trade discussions, you have to pinpoint who has the leverage here. And the 49ers don't have a lot of leverage. There was the shoulder injury to Garoppolo that we just talked about that impacted his trade value. A lot of other teams know that they're moving forward with Trey Lance, so they're like, okay, let's see if the 49ers just outright release Garoppolo. Then we don't have to give up anything to trade for him, and we can pretty much just sign him in free agency if he is in fact released. And I think that's what the Seahawks are kind of waiting for here, waiting for a release so that they don't have to help out another team in the division in this heated rivalry. Then they can get Garoppolo at a much more affordable price tag. Now, I want to hear from you in the comment section right now, because this fan base is really split on Garoppolo. He's somewhat of a polarizing figure. 2 NFC championship games in 3 years, but he's been somewhat inconsistent with his play and his injuries. Do you think that Garoppolo going to Seattle would scare you, or do you don't think that challenge is daunting at all? Type S for, yeah, I'd be a little bit scared with him being in the division. Type BIO, bio, for bring on the challenge. When we discuss this Garoppolo trade matter, too, you have to factor in what Carolina gave up for Baker Mayfield and what Cleveland was willing to do in order for this trade to be made complete. They're basically paying Mayfield's entire salary for 2022. The only financial responsibilities that Carolina has, about $3 million. That's without some of the performance incentives. So for a former number 1 pick who back 2 years ago played a pretty good brand and style of football, $3 million for a potential starting quarterback is pretty solid. As for what the Browns received, conditional 5th round pick. So that's kind of the market or maybe the value that Garoppolo may or may not have in a trade. There's also this from Tom Pelissero. I told you we had so much to talk about on today's show. He reported that a trade of Garoppolo could happen by the end of the month. But first, he talked about that report from Dan Sileo, which I just thought was bogus. Pelissero, the first element of it is this. I asked 49ers quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo and his agent Don Yee about his shoulder recovery, the status of trade talks, and a radio host's recent comments that the Bucs had reached out about acquiring Jimmy G as their heir apparent to Tom Brady. His response was this: Garoppolo is progressing well. He's on schedule. We're optimistic about the upcoming season. Over the weekend, though, a report came out that asserted that I had spoken to a media member about his future, but the report was false. And on yesterday's show, I was at the crib. I'm seeing all these rumors about Garoppolo getting traded to the Bucs, and it makes some semblance of sense. Not financially, though. The Buccaneers don't have a lot of money to absorb Garoppolo's contract, and also you have to consider the source here. Dan Sileo played at Miami college football, played at the NFL level for a little while as a defensive lineman. Okay, that's great. But his reporting as an NFL reporter, an NFL personality, a radio host, it's been microscopic. It has been spotty at best. He throws shit on the wall. He sees if it sticks, and usually it doesn't stick, and these reports don't end up ringing true. That's why I didn't find it to be a credible report from Dan Sileo. Here's where also things get interesting, though, from Pelissero. Team execs are just starting to come back from vacation. I need a vacay, by the way, but I got to continue to churn out this content for the faithful. Most training camps open in 2 weeks, and the expectation within the league continues to be that Garoppolo is traded somewhere by the end of the month. So there you go. We'll get to Trey Lance coming up right around the bend, but first, one more question about Garoppolo. What would you do with him? You like him, you hate him, you want him on this roster, you want to cut bait, you want to trade him. Let me know, T for trade or K for keep. Once more, let us know in the comment section down below. Certainly an interesting thing that the 49ers have on their plate because of these arm fatigue conversations going on with Trey Lance and the lack of a backup with Nate Sudfeld. We'll see what happens. Coming up next on the show, RG3, who really flourished under Kyle and Mike Shanahan in Washington, won Rookie of the Year before injuries really did derail his career. He's a big believer in Trey Lance. We'll talk about that and look at what he said coming up. But first, Manscaped, today's presenting sponsor. And it's summertime. We're spending a lot of time outside, and we're in bathing suits, right? And you don't want to be that guy who has that hairy bush down below the nether region because it doesn't look good, and your significant other definitely doesn't want to venture down into those foresty streets. And right now, you can get the performance package from Manscaped for just $95.99 by heading to manscaped.com/49ers. You enter the promo code 49ers. The Lawnmower 4.0, I use it all the time. The nose trimmer is good to keep things clean in between the nostrils. Ball preserver, ball deodorant, the boxer briefs are fantastic as well. All of this comes in a travel case where if you're traveling a lot, whether it be on the road or through the air, the travel case is clutch. I'm going to put that link in the comment section and the description of this video. As for what RG3 had to say about Trey Lance, RG3 won Rookie of the Year under Kyle and Mike Shanahan. He talked with the Sacramento Bee recently, and he's really high on what Lance can do with San Francisco and what the 49ers can do with Trey Lance at the helm. So we'll run through the quotes here. RG3 saying this: I think 49ers fans have to be ready for there to be up and downs with Trey. I agree. I've said that. But the bottom line is Kyle Shanahan has had extreme success with guys like Matt Ryan, Jimmy Garoppolo, who are going to run the offense, and there's going to be times with Trey, his talent and his ability takes over, and that's what's going to take over the hump to get them to the Super Bowl, which is what they didn't have with Matt Ryan when they were up 28-3 against the Patriots. And they didn't have that with Jimmy Garoppolo when he missed that last throw to Emmanuel Sanders when he overthrew him in 2019 in that Super Bowl against the Chiefs. With Trey Lance, though, it's not going to be that way. That's how it was with me at times. There's going to be opportunities you have where your skills are going to take over, but that X factor is what's going to help you win a Super Bowl and not just get to a Super Bowl. And that's why I continue to be really high on Trey Lance. This guy just has stupid potential at the quarterback position as long as these reports of arm fatigue aren't real. I think what this comes down to is a report from last year that at times he had a sore arm because they were changing his mechanics, and oftentimes when you change the way that you throw the football after years of throwing it one way, you're going to have a little bit of a sore arm. As for reasons to be excited about Trey Lance, RG3 had to say what he had to say. Here's what I have to say. Most gifted quarterback for Kyle Shanahan ever as a head coach. I don't think it's close. Nick Mullins, CJ Beathard, Jimmy Garoppolo. Trey Lance trumps all of them in terms of pure athletic qualities. Dual threat ability, too. He can chuck it, he can run it. And Kyle Shanahan hasn't had that as the head coach of San Francisco. I think the run game with Elijah Mitchell and crew, it's going to benefit because defenses are going to have a hard time game planning for what the Niners want to do on the offensive side. And when they're trying to figure out the read option specific stuff, is Trey Lance going to keep it? Is he going to throw it? Is he going to hand it off? Then you add all of the jet sweeps, all of the motions, some of the bubble screens and wheel routes coming out of the backfield. I can't wait to see the creativity that Kyle Shanahan brings to the table with Lance as the starter. Is there going to be an implementation of the deep ball? I certainly hope so. That was not a part of Jimmy Garoppolo's game. Why? Doesn't have the strongest arm, and he looked to throw the ball in between the hashes because he was comfortable in doing so. And while he fit the ball in tight windows, he did not chuck the ball deep. Kyle Shanahan calling the plays. Again, I can't wait to see how creative he can get with a really gifted quarterback in Lance at his disposal. Lance also has the best left tackle in the game. It's not even close in Trent Williams. Physical qualities at 6'4", 225. He can take the pounding in the backfield. I don't want to see him run the ball all that much, but he can certainly absorb some hits. Great weapons, Debo, Ayuk, George Kittle, and then a top-tier defense led by Nick Bosa, which honestly could be one of the best in the league, and in turn take some pressure off of Trey Lance to not have to feel like he has to do everything to win a game in and game out. And sometimes if that pressure becomes way too much for a quarterback, it can force them to press, and then that leads to them turning the football over. Instead, Lance knows he has a very good complementary cast, not just offensively, but defensively as well. And if he doesn't bring his best fastball to every single game, his teammates can bail him out. With that, let me ask you this. Did I just convince you to be excited about Trey Lance? I hope so. I'm excited about the kid. Can't wait to see him. Scale your level of excitement for me in the comment section from 1 to 100. And while you're down there, make sure you smash that subscribe button. It's youtube.com/49erstv. With training camp right around the corner, we're going to continue to up our coverage and push out more and more videos as we really get into our wheelhouse with our 49ers coverage over the next several months. youtube.com/49erstv. Appreciate all of you for watching today's show.